What's up guys? It's been a while since I've wrote a scripted video, but I'm back at it. We waited patiently for 2 years for the drop of Karnheim, so it's about time I give my recap on my experience throughout the adventure. We always have a ton of fun creating for the community, and I'm sure a ton of veterans have already joined me in the completion of this dreaded land. My video is definitely overdue. Nonetheless, I hope you strap yourself in for the story. Karnheim was my most anticipated area. I was truly excited to jump into this new land with new monsters and develop new strategies. 2 years had passed since the release of a new area. Many things had changed in game. Many knights come and gone. We persevered this long drought through the power of our connections and thrived in game as a strong guild by consistently pushing each other's limits. We dove into Karnheim. The Karnite assassins were the first new enemy I needed to wrap my head around. As a mage user who primarily focused the death of cultists with massive blasts of blood magic, a cult enemy that focused damaging my health directly presented a difficult learning curve. Vordry uses health to attack, and the backlash can be pretty heavy on a full room of cultists. Being strong-headed and strapped in my ways, I opted to go for an all-or-nothing method that cost me a ton of wasted stamina on attempts. Consistently trying to find the perfect amount of damage where my Vordry could clear a room of assassins but still leave me in fighting shape afterwards was my focus, and while successful in the initial stages of Karnheim, I knew that this strategy wouldn't carry me to the top. I needed to develop further and think outside the ways I had been stuck in for so long. The Dark Onslaught dungeon was another huge learning curve, but also greatly welcomed. After well over 55 completed weeks of Rift, our pile of cores that had been fed into our gauntlets were finally ready to be put to the test. With the exemption of rare and epic heroes from our pool of choice, alternative hero classes started becoming much more familiar to our artillery. I personally began experimentation with Alchemist and Warrior class on a greater level, utilizing unique gear with 4 hero charm slots to add power to my variety while simultaneously not hindering my main build of Mythic. Ermis to tank the Troll Dark Onslaught dungeon boss, Erickson to freeze and weaken the nameless goblins, Lance to maintain protection. Carmilla and Ayako became extremely useful healers, Gerber to target pesky backrow Karnite sorcerers trying to weaken and unfocus me. And Brutus? Well, Brutus. Enough said. We quickly developed successful working strategies to the Dark Onslaught dungeon, and the fruits of our labor were paid greatly with piles of gold shiny drops. Our core mage gang began to rise, and our grind in game had been reignited. We completed Carnage V1 on stream with everyone. It took us a few tries, and at the time the 3rd Wintertide still hadn't arrived, so we were still working with a 5-star Brutus and didn't have that protect on base yet. With a few well-timed blood magics alongside some bombardment with Brutus, we were able to tank through V1 with the all-or-nothing method. As I mentioned before though, we knew that this strat would be short-lived. The new golem enemies were no joke. The warriors were chunky. Exploding birds, burning hogs, and weakening archers made this mess of enemies particularly difficult. The nameless were no easy feat either. Goblins are a weakness to mage class, as our only hero of that type is only grey rarity. And war beasts, I'm sure was a fun learning curve for everyone. Many people began to talk of a full switch from mage. Warriors, alchemists, and even hunters all seemed to have it easier in this new land. For me, the challenge was welcomed. I began experimenting with odd hero pairings, mixing my primary mage alongside some of the heroes others had been recommending for use. However, having limited amounts of drops of patience made choosing who to invest in difficult. I felt pulled in different directions. Should I stick with my class, or jump as so many others have as well? Knowing 6-star Brutus was right around the corner and having him as my primary damage dealer against the Nameless, I opted to start using a strange Brutus Titania combo alongside the Maverick Gauntlet. Titania provided the protect, as my Brutus still didn't have that capability. She also provided focus and really good heals, and Brutus became the bombardment. The need to take out back row nameless goblin healers was high, and Brutus was the answer. Getting the field exposed consistently and dealing that extra 35% damage was absolutely clutch as well. We stormed our way through to Carnage V2, and using the Titania Brutus combo with our weapon set to Goblin, we managed to slice through V2 and his two tanky, nameless goblins at his sides. As I slogged my way forward to V3, a new strategy came to mind. When dealing with powerful enemies of a certain type, we could potentially nullify all damage by maintaining Weaken and Protect on the field and having 3 pieces of mythic gear attuned to that type. 30% damage reduction from our gear alongside 35% from Protect and weakening enemies by 35% meant that we could achieve a total of 100% damage reduction from that specific type of enemy. Cladis became specifically standout for me, an old personal favorite hero capable of dealing a good chunk of damage while weakening the field as well. Paired with Tristan in order to maintain Protect and Cleanse, our use of the Logician's Gauntlet also grew for hunter speed and increased mage base power damage. The initial Brutus Vordry combo and Chaotic Gauntlet had been altered. New heroes were in use, new strategies being implemented, and it honestly felt great to let rare heroes be the ones to shine. By the time we arrived at V3, I was fresh out of drops of Generosity and Patience. Gold was low, and same with tomes. In my frustrations as a mage user, I had leveled up both Zoe and Rosalind in hopes that they could manage to deal with the goblin and golem threat I was being consistently presented with. And they did not. I was left strategizing against V3 with level 45 heroes. I could see members of the community surpassing me with ease, people coming up with ideas all on their own for completion, and for the first time in a long time, I felt as if I fell behind. V3 has ridiculously strong power attack, that's also strong versus any status ailment. Essentially, if you have Burn, Acid, or Poison on when he launches his move, it's an insta-KO for your knight. And, as I mentioned before, we had been experimenting with a Weaken and Protect combo alongside Tristan and Cladis. Even with Tristan only at level 45, we should be able to defeat V3. He can provide Cleanse of negative status effects alongside Protect, and if Cladis can continuously weaken the field, we can make all of the golem enemies deal 0 damage. I replaced my unique Exposed Chance charm in my gear for a unique Weaken Chance and scavenged up some purple drops for Cladis to jump to 50. We blazed forward to take on V3, on a budget. This was a victory I was extremely proud of. Not only did I defeat one of the toughest enemies in the game, but I was also able to showcase to the community that it was doable with heroes that you can obtain from the very start of the game. And mage users didn't need to do the full switch so many had spoke of. With all 3 versions of Carnage defeated, our focus switched yet again to the Dark Ones, and a realization that the strat used for V3 would not be able to be implemented on them. The Dark Ones are not any type of enemy, therefore our mythic gear could not grant us any added damage reduction against them. The Weaken Protect combo needed to be shelved for the time being, and something new needed to be thought up yet again. This was around the start of the 3rd Wintertide event, and as soon as the event started, I blitzed through and managed to snag a 6-star Brutus. This was clutch for new strats. This hero now had the ability to give me a full rage meter with a single base power on both the Chaotic and Holy Gauntlet, 3 turns of Protect and Regenerate, and a useful rage with decent damage capable of exposing a full field of enemies as well. We paired him with the mighty Azar, a unique mage we've had for a long time but have had limited use for in game, until now. We opted to use the Holy Gauntlet in these new situations. With its boost to Alchemist speed maxed, we can get Brutus base in 4 actions, full rage. Azar is also a holy hero, with both a healing base power and rage. All of these provide rage gains with the Holy Gauntlet, and having them boosted by 225% meant that we were seeing heals in the 100k region for the first time. Azar became my first hero to take to max, with Brutus following suit shortly after. This was the combo I was ready to invest fully into. I had extremely high hopes for it, and honestly was hungry to see it at full potential. Azar's base power cleansing me of negative status effects and consistently healing me for 30 to 50k, alongside building rage. Brutus base giving me Protect for 3 turns, full rage, regenerate, and exposing the field for increased damage. Azar following up with his rage shortly after and healing me upwards of 150k. I was a healing machine that was also capable of dealing damage, This combo worked against the Nameless, the Karnites, and the Ottomans. And, at the time, I was a beast in the arena, out-healing enemies and finishing fights at nearly full health. I defeated all 3 Dark Ones in record time, but a part of me felt guilty showcasing how I did it. My previous combos had focused easily obtainable heroes, and a full-star Brutus alongside a 4-star Azar were not things in-game that were easily accessible. I began to feel like less of a guide. We hit 60 shortly after defeating the final Dark One. We raised our Brutus and Azar combo up to max, and stormed our way up to the final citadel, where we were met with our greatest challenge yet, Ultra Carnage. In his first floor were 2 dreaded war beasts that could simultaneously stun you if their charge went off beat with each other. The damage being sent out by the 2 of them made things extremely difficult to survive, and even if we managed to squeeze by the 2 of them, by the time we got into the second room with Ultra K, our knight's armor and potions had been spent already. We tried our Brutus Azar combo time and time again to no avail. As much as we had fallen in love with this healing combo, we knew it was not the right fit for this battle at hand. Our focus again turned to Cladis. If we paired him with our new full-star Brutus, maybe we could slog through round 1, defeat the 2 war beasts, and then maintain 0 damage against Ultra Carnage by keeping him weakened and maintaining Protect. This combo would have worked perfectly if Ultra K didn't also have his power attack strong versus status ailments. Anytime I managed to get to Ultra K with this combo, his base attack would inflict a status ailment on me, and then I would cleanse with a Vigor Pot in order to attempt to survive. Having only 2 pots meant that I could only do this twice, and in a long-fought battle against him, the odds were never in my favor that Ultra K wouldn't inflict his ailments. Again, I tried time and time again with this combo, wasting pots upon pots and throwing tons of stamina away. No victory. Members of the community began sprouting victories everywhere. Brutus and Grim for Alchemists, Brutus and Logan or Erickson for Warriors, Tristan and Astara for Hunters. I felt frustrated seeing all of those other classes taking the lead before my beloved mages. I tried again and again with my strat. I feel if I had just a bit more mage power and chiseled out a few of my health or armor charms, I might have been able to have taken it with this method, but with Expert Rift on the horizon at this point, I didn't want to alter my gear too much from the working Brutus Azar combo that I had thought up earlier. I planned to have it carry me in Expert, and I was worried to end up in a situation of needing chisels and spanners, and getting the wrong charm slots in my gear again. The work to get to this point was difficult, and changing it all for a single fight seemed like a lot for me. I watched as members of my guild surpassed me, members of the community, even players younger than my knight. One thing I noticed in common with many of them was the freeze lock combo. Success amongst Istara and Erickson users seemed high in Ultra K situations. Being able to hold them in place and avoid huge damage attacks being thrown at your knight seemed like the best method of survival. We had a full-star Erickson that was newly acquired, granting us weaken on his base power, and with his rage that froze as well, we decided to take him to 60. With our gear still fully attuned to mage, we plotted against Ultra Carnage with a Brutus Erickson Holy Gauntlet combo. We opted for the Holy Gauntlet because our sword had a 100% chance to stun on ultimate, and the Holy Gauntlet boosts sword alongside alchemist speed. While maintaining Weaken and Protect, 2 pieces of mythic gear attuned to Beast to tank the War Beast in round 1, and 3 attuned to Golem for the 100% block to damage in round 2, I stepped into the fight with this new combo. A sudden wave of guilt washes over my body. Over 50% of the charms in my gear is currently being unused with this combo. A lot of the work that I've put into the past 2 years seems almost wasted with this strategy. It can't be as easy as taking this one freezing, weakening hero to 60, can it? Round 1 starts and the freeze lock is working well. By timing the stuns and freeze attacks, I make sure to have both war beasts launch their stun attacks on me at the same time. Being stunned for over 2 turns in this fight would have been an instant game over, but alongside this tactic, I save Erickson's Weaken for that exact moment to ensure that both of their charged attacks and the turn after when I'm stunned are reduced by 90% damage, or I attempt to do this at least. We slogged through with this method. The 100% chance to stun on ultimate came absolutely clutch for making sure that the war beasts didn't go off beat with one another. And Ericsson came clutch with the freeze every time we needed him. There was a few times on the run we had to gamble and launch his rage on our 4th action and just hope that the freeze landed. Whenever we direly needed it for our night, it was successful, and we plowed our way through round 1 to yet again meet face to face with the dreaded Ultra K. We started with a full field freeze to ensure that we land the lock, Brutus Rage for some extra exposure, and then we start teeing off on him with our weapon. Every 4 actions we pop Brutus Base again to protect, and full rage to continuously slam the group of round 2 enemies with freeze lock over and over. The 2 back row cultists were slightly resistant to the freeze, but in about 3 rages their health had also been diminished. Suddenly, we had hope. With only 3 golem enemies left, as long as we could maintain freeze and avoid status ailments from Ultra K's base attack, we could survive this onslaught. Then, it happened. Ultra K launches his base and lands poison on my knight. With only 1 vigor pot to cleanse left, I know that if I left these 4 actions pass, without either freezing or cleansing, he's going to launch his power attack and insta-KO my knight, even with the weaken, protect, and all of our gear attuned. I go for the freeze for 3 turns in order to tank his first status ailment, and by the grace of Titania, Ericsson lands all 3 times, saving my knight from the first 3 turns of status ailments. Back to Ultra K, and we avoid ailments for a few turns by freezing, but then, burn. I can feel my hands start sweating. We got lucky on the first 3 freezes. Could we pull it off again? Staying dedicated to the freeze for our first 2, the set lands, but unfortunately, we run out of actions for the 3rd freeze, and we're forced to use our last pot in order to cleanse to ensure survival. It's all in from this point. Freezing and slicing, we whittle Carnage down to his last bits of life, and with a devastating 4-hit combo finishing in a crit ultimate kill attack, we defeat the most dreaded enemy in-game. A wave of shock washes over my body, mixed with disbelief. This was a task we considered nearly impossible at a time, and yet, here we stand atop the final citadel, with our greatest enemy defeated. We sliced through the 2 remaining golems, and the battle was over. We won. As Ultra K is cursing me for my victory, a sudden feeling hits me so heavy my stomach drops. I don't know if I deserve this. Something here isn't right. Is this meant for me? Back when we made all those attempts with Azar and Cladis, that was me too. Those failures were mine. Is this the ending I'm really meant to have? Even if you think I might deserve this ending, I don't know if it works like that. Even when we work so hard to make our ending a certain way, sometimes things don't always work out. I might be able to sit atop the final citadel and thank all the knights in the community who pushed me to be the best knight that I could be. All the hard work, the hours of grind and dedication. But I don't know if I can accept this final victory. Has all my work for the last 2 years led up to this moment? Is this the Xantos that I always wanted to be? I don't know the answer to that, and I don't know if I ever will.